when we're talking, we will probably your person will come up, my person will come up. So this is Crockett 36, and here we are with Tom Gale, co-designer, I think I could say, certainly chief of Nightingale Games, creator of War Room fame, and this is his newest game, Imperial Borders. Larry Harris and he are combined creating this game. Is that all accurate, Tom?
Yeah, I would just bill myself as the publisher. I like to give Larry
Sure.
the credit and
Excellent.
um, where it's deserved.
Excellent. Good. All right. I was gonna just I thought you would introduce yourself to the my audience and tell us who is Tom Gale.
Um, well, I'm Thomas Gale. I'm the owner of Nightingale Games, and I've have a background in the computer game development industry as an artist and um, creative director. And then I gradually shifted to the board game publishing industry, and here I am. Uh, that's about it, unless you have any specific questions.
Yeah, I do. So how did you meet Larry Harris?
So when I was making this transition from video games to board games, I was doing some contracting work with a company called Game Table Online,
Yep.
which was run by Joe Minton. And so I was helping do the graphics and interface for Axis and Allies, two versions actually, and a bunch of other Avalon Hill games. They had a contract with Wizards at the time. And so Larry was connected to Game Table Online because of that. And Larry had a game in the works, and Joe was interested in helping out with that. And so the idea was to form a little company with Joe, myself as an artist, and a few others who would be design consultants and marketing folks and things like that. And but it ended up so we drove out to Eastern Mass and met him and moved forward with it. And I started working on the art. And then after a while, other people got busy with other projects and sort of
Okay.
fell by the wayside. And it was sort of me and Larry who had put in the most time and effort into it. And so I didn't really want to drop it. And so, long story short, Joe helped me form Nightingale Games in 2016 when we had been working on War Room for a year or two by that time.
Hmm.
Uh, and so I kind of took it from there, putting the publisher hat on, not just the uh, graphic artist hat.
Right.
And so we continued, when I say we, I mean Larry and I continued working together for another few years before the Kickstarter came out in 2017, I believe. And that was the first Kickstarter, which was successful in raising around 400,000, just over 400,000, I think.
Yeah.
And uh, that was the first edition, which was released 2 years later in 2019. And then we went on to do another Kickstarter, which raised 460,000. And that was the second edition of Kickstarter with another scenario and a few other changes, but not too many. The map didn't change, for example.
Right.
And yeah, so that was in 2022. And so time flies when you're and that has sustained, fortunately I had a low cost of living in that I had, paid off my mortgage and lived in Western Mass as opposed to Eastern Mass. So my expenses were relatively low, such that I could afford to work on a project that didn't pay anything for several years.
Right.
And now we've been working on Imperial Borders for at least 5 years.
Mhm.
And now we're finally ready to kickstart that in the spring. Should be coming up towards the end of May, around that time. The timeline for that mostly depends on the finalization of the splash video and getting some prototype games to some other reviewers involved. We have some previewers lined up who we um, are planning on shipping a prototype to so they can,
Yeah.
spout goodness about it. And that's sort of one of the things you need in a Kickstarter.
Sure.
So we've got a couple folks lined up for that, and otherwise, the development is wrapping up. I mean, we're always finalizing certain design features, but we can feel it coming to a close. The light at the end of the tunnel, all those other metaphors. So that's where we are now, in terms of Nightingale Games and Larry Harris working together. He's got a lot of other games in the works that are, in various stages of development.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure how much I should talk about them since they're sort of his babies, but
Sure. Sure.
we don't have any contracts signed for any future projects. But you go to his house and you see them spread around his basement workshop there.
Right.
Um, so there's definitely potential for future collaborations as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is in Imperial Borders? Why don't you give us a tour of Imperial Borders,
Sure.
the board game
So
here?
this is Imperial Borders, and we're using Tabletopia here. It's a virtual platform. You can just need a web browser to view it. We will have this available during the Kickstarter, so you can, get a sense of the pieces and scope. There are some limitations of Tabletopia that we're going to have to sort of create workarounds for, which I'll sort of point out as we go. But for now, I'm zooming out here. The map is quite large. It's not as large as War Room, which was, well, I guess it depends which version of War Room. The War Room was 42 inches for the core game and 48 inches for the jumbo neoprene mat. For
Right.
this, we're going standard with a neoprene mat. It's going to be sliced down the middle and rolled up in like a Swiss roll.
Hmm.
So it will fit in a shorter box.
Gotcha.
So we're planning right now 44 inches, and it's a map of Europe in 1815. And it's relatively accurate, but it's not exactly accurate. We did make some concessions here on the territories, especially between Russia and Austria and Prussia here. Historically, they were right up against each other, and we wanted to create some breathing room of neutral ground between
Sure.
them. But if there are any historical geography whizzes, you can email us if you have any complaints about the names we use for port cities, or ask questions about the border lines that we provided.
Hmm.
So in Tabletopia, you'll notice that these are silhouettes, and we'll have actual miniatures in the game, unlike War Room. So there'll be figurines. You can go on our website to get a preview of what those will look like, or sign up on our Discord where we've posted photos, or Facebook, all that social media stuff.
Hmm.
But there's a few types of land units. You have the heavy infantry, you have light infantry, you have cavalry and cannons here. And those are the basics of the mobile units. Then you'll also have um, forts and ports, and those will also be sculpts. Right now, um, we just have placeholder shapes for them.
Hmm.
And in Tabletopia, because they're billboards, if I rotate the angle here, they'll switch to abstract
Ah,
symbolic symbols just for convenience in viewing, overhead viewing.
yep.
And then I'll rotate the camera back down and you'll see that they become silhouettes again.
Pop.
Then besides the land units, we have two types of ships. There's ships of the line and frigates. And ships of the line are more powerful and roll more dice, and frigates are small. So you can transport land units on these ships and sail between, these are the borderlines of the sea regions. And so you can transport ships over here and then drop some guys off at the port, claim the port. So there are major and minor ports. So that you'll notice that there's Tintines in that's the homelands. So there's 6 major powers. This game is 2 to 6 players. So there's France, Prussia, Austria, Russia, Britain, and Spain. So those are the 6 powers. If you have fewer players, you could play with Spain and Russia as neutral, or have different players control multiple powers. So you could have 3-on-3, or just play with these inner 4, or some combination therein. And so this is the supply of each nation will have a supply of their units and their flags for ports and forts. We have Britain, France, and Spain on the left, and then over here on the right we have Prussia, Russia, and Austria. And then over to here we have some reference for each nation. Right now it's showing Spain for all these, but these will be updated to show each nation's particular reference. And then up here we have some score charts. So on the left, there's a prestige board. This would be a dry erase board. For Tabletopia, we have these little spinners that we can use. And these are the 5 categories in which you claim points. If you're at the top of a category, you'll get one of these medals, which in real life you would be able to pin to your lapel. And you'll get a bonus in the game as well if you are the top of a particular category. And then whoever's top total for the game round will move up on this prestige track. So it'll be first, second, and third place. So France gets first, Austria gets second, and then maybe there's a tie for third. They'll move up like that. And so you'll slowly accumulate points that way. And that's combined with the end game state, which is a total of your how many territories you control and how many elites you have. So you'll add those 2 figures together to get your total score for the end of the game, and whoever has the most points wins. Unlike War Room, the game has a fixed number of rounds. So there's 9 rounds. This is the round tracker. And once you reach the 5th round, you'll start voting as to whether or not to end the game. It'll end 1 round later if a majority of votes are for peace.
Right.
And you'll start getting automatic votes later on. So that's the basic structure of the game. But since this is an area control game, the juicy part is battles. So down here we have the battle boards. There's one for land, and then we have another one for ports. For battles out in the open seas, you don't really need a battle board because there aren't different zones.
Right.
And so you would transfer your forces to a battle board like so, and you have some stance choices. So you can choose whether you want your cavalry to be in the front or the back, and then an opposing force would be on the other side. Let's say they've got a fort here, and so you'll make some choices in setup. You'll also be choosing a stance, whether you want to be offensive or defensive, and that will affect your dice, which you roll. So each of these units has a certain number of dice and type of dice that they'll roll. You've got big black cannon dice. So ships and forts and cannons fire these big cannon dice, and then everybody else, the cavalry and infantry, will fire these white dice, which represent, cutlasses and guns. And
Sure.
so you'll roll a whole bunch of these dice. Being a game with lots of dice, Larry likes dice.
Yep.
So you'll roll handful of these and then process the hits. I won't get into that now, but you can earn elites, which will give you bonuses, and form triads, which give you bonuses. Triads are a combination of cavalry, cannons, and infantry.
Yep.
And the medals can also give you bonuses. So that's how you resolve battles, rolling the dice.
And it's
And
3 rounds of combat. One barrage.
yes, there's a barrage
Two.
is the first round where the cannons fire, and then there'll be 2 additional ones where both cannons and infantry fire simultaneously. And so you'll exchange and then assign the hits to individual units, and they'll come off the board. And they'll be counted as casualties, which could earn you morale, which is this first column here, where you'll total that up and earn a certain number of medal points for that. The second and third columns are the territories. So first column's the annex, which is this sort of olive green territories. Those are the independent territories, which are worth 1 each. And then there's the homelands, which are worth 2 each, unless it's a capital, which is worth 3. So that's the second and third columns. And the fourth and fifth columns are land elites and naval elites for the others. And so the points you earn in a round are the sum of all those. So if I had, 4 land elites, a naval elite, kept all my homelands, had a couple annexed territories, and I did pretty well in battles, I would have this many points, and I would be competing against the other players there.
Right.
And over here is a summary of the stages of battle and the phases of the game, and the later on you'll have a chance to purchase new units, and so there's a purchase cost table, how many hit points and dice each of the units roll.
Mm-hmm.
And these other tokens these are just for keeping track of what's moved and what's battled. These will have, this is not final graphics, obviously, but each nation has a treasury, and it keeps gold in its treasury. This, again, we're just using spinners in this, but there'll be actual coins and little chests for the final. And then over here we have some other tokens for, hotspots, and when you want to capture a independent territory, you have to roll some dice to make an attempt. And so these markers show you how to, which ones you still need to check for in terms of annexing them. And then there's some advanced optional features like revolts and such. Certain things can take damage. That's what these little explosions are. You can put them on the forts and pay to repair them later on. And these are the little elite flags, which will insert into the units themselves. And you'll get a bonus die if they're elite. So that's the rapid overview. Oh, I forgot the main part of it is the planning boards. So that actually isn't shown here, but there'll be these folios similar to War Room where you plot your orders secretly. There's a sort of dry erase mini map of this map.
Yes.
And everybody will be plotting their orders secretly at the same time. And that's one trouble with Tabletopia is doesn't support drawing lines.
Oh, okay.
And so we were using Google Jamboard, but Google Jamboard isn't supported anymore. So I need to use one of the alternatives there to allow the game to be playable the way it's intended. Right now, you could play it just by taking turns, but the whole point is that everybody's plotting ahead of time secretly.
Right.
So that you will do with dry erase boards. So imagine a mini map of this, and you'd write down how many is units you have in each location, and then draw lines to where you have orders for them to travel to.
Hmm.
And then while it's your turn, you can initiate attacks. Um, so yeah, I hope that wasn't too rapid, but
No,
that's
no.
the broad overview of Imperial Borders uh, on Tabletopia. Here's a mini battle board, which
Oh yeah.
will provide if you just have a small skirmish.
Right, right.
Um, yeah. So how's that? Do you have any other
Great.
questions?
No, no, that's good. Um, I normally speaking talk to people that I've done several interviews, and I ask them some favorite questions. On this map, you're a player. You're not just developing. You've also played it. And what's your favorite nation to play?
For this game, that's a good question. It's the with development, rules change, and so what once might have been your favorite,
You're telling
and
me.
yeah, and what and is your favorite necessarily the best nation to play? For example, Russia is in a corner here, so they're very fairly defensible. Same with Britain. If you may get a majority of ships, then um, I I think I like playing as Spain because they have a bit of both. They've got ships and they're connected with land, but they're also on the edge.
Sure.
So they have the most opportunity for different styles of play. So they feel very flexible to me.
Hmm.
Like they could go Navy heavy and go against Britain, or they could be friends with France or enemies with France. So, and oftentimes they have an edge in that they're not in the squabble for this
Right,
mid-ground territory.
right.
Yeah, they were not one of the main five historically speaking, but one of the main eight. So we boosted Spain a little bit more just to make it a six-player game. Um, but from a purely mechanical gameplay point of view, I think Spain would be my favorite.
Uh, um, and your favorite, you got some extra cash. What you gonna buy? What's your favorite piece?
Um, they're
As Spain.
expensive, but I like ships.
Yeah.
I like ships because you can always attack a port and get points. And there's sort of fun in battles. You get to choose the lineup, so you have more control.
Yep.
Um, you kind of know what you're getting into with battles, and they're also sort of do or die situations. And you can catch people by surprise with ships because they move so far.
Right.
Um,
Six. They move six.
yeah, your infantry are kind of your meat and potatoes, and um, cavalry are nice in that they move three spaces instead of just two.
Yes.
But I and they're flexible in battle, but I've never successfully pulled off. I know that you've tried the cavalry charge, but and then cannons. Yeah, cannons are cannons. They're supposed to be sort of the heart of the game in many ways. But yeah, I like ships.
Cool. Right. And you had said that late May.
Yeah, it
You
could
are
slide into June if
sure,
we don't get it in the hands of those previewers quickly enough.
sure. And then it's Kickstarter happens maybe for beginning of fall.
Oh,
Um,
you mean the release?
No, no, the Kickstarter.
The Kickstarter we planned for the end of spring to launch.
Oh, okay. So you
So
okay?
we have a
Gotcha.
pre-launch page up now. You can go to get notified of the launch. You can either go to Kickstarter and search for it, or you can maybe
Can you punch it into the your browser?
um no. Oh,
Oh,
you mean
sorry.
just yes, I can.
Okay, sorry.
The launch page. I thought you meant do something else here. Let's see if I can do that. Um, is that visible?
Yeah. If you maybe get you're a little blurry. I'm not sure why, but there it is. Okay, there we go. Kickstarter, Imperial Borders. Okay, good, good.
Yeah, this is just the notified me on launch page. So we have
Uh,
1,800 followers so far. And that's about as expected, and hope to get a few more before we actually launch. But
sure.
our marketing campaign is out of the station and slowly building up as we speak.
Right.
So
You did a 10 PAX East,
yeah, we
and total
sometimes
count.
I wonder, if it's worth spending more on banner ads, but I think a mix of both is good.
Sure.
So um
How many copies of War Room was the first release?
the first release, I believe, well, there was a special edition and which there were 300 of, signature edition,
Hmm.
and then I believe we had 2,500, maybe
Okay,
3,000. I don't remember exactly.
sure.
And then we had a second print run of about 4,000
Yep.
for the second edition, and then we had another print run that of 1,500 without a Kickstarter,
Oh,
that we we sell directly on our website.
oh,
So
neat. And you have copies available?
of War Room, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yep.
we're still selling it. We're sold out in some regions of Europe and Asia, but we have all of the extras available in the US. Um, and for the Kickstarter for Imperial Borders, we're trying to keep it very simple. There will just be two tiers, one for Imperial Borders and then another one for Imperial Borders and War Room together.
Oh, wow.
If you don't have either game.
Any idea what the retail price might be? Or I'm sorry, the your price?
The MSRP will be 300 for Imperial Borders.
Hmm.
It's got a heck of a lot of plastic, and we're going to Lux all the way. So
Yeah.
the box will be 2 feet by 1 foot by about 8 inches tall.
Yep.
Big crate of a game, um, and have a whole lot of plastic
Right.
included, as well as the neoprene mat and the dry erase boards and everything.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Now, War Room can also be played online as well on
That's correct.
Steam.
Yes, we have it on Tabletopia and on Tabletop Simulator. It's a sort of a
Right.
mouthful to say. So on Tabletopia, there's just a few of the smaller scenarios like the Eastern Front,
Oh,
and I think we have another one as well. But on most people prefer to play the global scenario, which is on a scripted. Most tabletop simulator games, you just have to shuffle the pieces around yourself. But we had a volunteer very generously script the game so all the pieces fly automatically and it rolls the dice automatically for you. So games can be played very rapidly and online. And there's a pretty good community on the Discord channel. We have a Discord for War Room, and then we have the Nightingale Discord, which is mostly about Imperial Borders. So maybe we'll provide links for those at the bottom of this video
excellent.
or something. But you can join up, and if you ask, the people who are there are generally pretty friendly, and
Hmm.
you find somebody who's willing to play.
Excellent. And so so that's you also have a web page of your own, I believe. Nightingale Games page.
Yes. So you can go to nightingalegames.com, whether there's a hyphen or not, I don't think it matters. And it's pretty standard. It just shows an introduction to War Room and Imperial Borders. I'm working with another designer who's been a friend of mine for a long time, named Jim Dubois, who uh, has been a board game designer for all his life.
Hmm.
And I'm working on a game that's totally opposite to these other games with him.
Uh-huh.
Instead of a all day game, it's a 30-minute press your luck dice game. So it's completely different in terms of scope, where
Okay.
it's sort of a quick, fast game set in a post-apocalyptic setting, um, where you're gathering resources and trying to race each other to the end.
Oh, okay.
It's a two-player game.
Gotcha.
So that has been bubbling along in the background for a couple of years. Um, but that's with a different designer, and I don't want to overlap the Kickstarters
Sure, sure.
because that doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But it's a much smaller project compared to Imperial Borders in all respects. It'll
Right.
probably be a $35 game instead of a $300 game.
And you also are on YouTube, I think, as well.
Yes, I haven't updated because I'm somewhat shy in terms of uh presenting myself on YouTube, which I should
Sure.
just get over that. But
Right, right.
I'll probably be posting more videos about Imperial Borders, explaining some things. We've had some other channels that have been great for War Room. There's Ben Harsh, who has done
Yes.
a rules explanation video, an excellent rules explanation video. There's
Yes.
been some others who have also done great rules overviews, even in other languages. And then there's some other folks who have done analyses of Pain State, for example, has
Hmm.
done a lot of war room analysis videos.
Right.
And yeah, I hope to we have a fair number of followers on our YouTube, so I hope to update that so
Yeah.
as well. And then of course we have a Facebook group where you can also sort of a catch-all backup in terms of news and photos and connecting with other people to play the game
Sure.
in your region.
Did you mention Board Game Geek? I'm sorry. Did you?
I did not.
Okay.
So that yeah, they're both Imperial Borders is now recently listed on Board Game Geek. We're slowly adding content for that. There's been a couple photos added. Um, and War Room has its own page as well.
Okay.
So
Good.
there's if you have any rules questions, that's really the place to go to for probably for either game. We're working with Kevin Chapman, who's rules editor for War Room, and he's fantastic at answering questions related to War Room very succinctly.
Right. Um, so I think that's a pretty great summary. I'm just going to ask you some quick questions and just try to let people know a little
Sure.
bit
It's getting
who
cold up
about.
here in the top of the mountains. So. Ooh, yeah.
um, what other when you're not playing War Room or you're not playing Imperial Borders, what kind of games do you like to play?
I am not I do play war games, but I wouldn't call myself a war gamer.
Sure.
So I like a very wide variety of games. We usually play the latest and greatest hotness that comes out, and it's with our game group. at Greenfield Games, the game store that's local to where I live.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah, Western Mass. And so,
What is the latest and greatest right now?
oh, that's a good question. Um, uh, I mean, we play heavy games, we play light games. I mean, I played Nucleum recently.
Okay.
That's a newer one. We played Darwin's Journey. That's not that new, but it was new to us.
Sure.
Um, and I played some lighter games as well. There was a game called based on a video game, Dork, something like that.
Okay.
It's kind of like Carcassonne, but you're laying
Okay.
tiles down. It's got sort of a legacy component as well.
Gotcha.
That's a very light game, I would call it. But it's nice to play the full range of games. Uh, I would be willing to play more war games, but the group that I play with generally, um, want to play a game that's three 3 to 4 hours, not
Right.
6 hours.
Sure. Sure.
But there are games like Undaunted that are, card game based that are war game themed but lighter. I don't really consider those war games. When
Right.
I say war games, I think of ASL, Squad Leader, that sort of stuff,
Gotcha.
um, which I played back in the day, but not so much these days. Uh, so yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we're gonna do just a few favorites to let people know even more about you, and then we'll
Okay.
wrap up this video. So what is your favorite ice cream?
Ice cream. Um, I like strange new ice creams, but not that strange and new. Like I would not like okra ice cream or something that weird. But so the there's a lot of local ice cream places in Massachusetts. I don't know why that is, but it's less about the flavor and more about the quality of the ice cream.
Okay.
But to be snobby about it, I guess I uh I'm trying to pick a weird one just to be weird though, but really
Okay.
it's mint chocolate chip is always good and vanilla is always good.
All right.
Uh but yeah,
Okay.
Brumley
Favorite dog?
is
Dog,
my
dog
own
breed.
dog. I of course I'm biased. I would have to pick my own dog breed. I have a Dixie dog rescue from Texas who was um, delivered to us as a mutt, but
Okay.
we discovered that it's a mountain cur.
Okay.
And these dogs were bred for treeing squirrels, so they love to run and chase squirrels in the yard. And she barks when the mailman comes on the porch, but doesn't she's not like yep 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 yep. So it's great to have a dog that barks when they should and
Right.
doesn't bark when they shouldn't.
Gotcha.
And she's not too big, not too small. It's sort of a medium dog, just perfect and
All
perfect
right.
behavior as well.
So waitress comes up to you and says, "What would you like for breakfast?" At a cafe. At a cafe.
Okay.
Your go-to order.
I like the British breakfast. So the ones that have like baked beans and a bready kind of sausage and
Oh,
the
okay.
smorgasbord sort of thing with a tomato off to the side and that classic English breakfast.
Okay. And they say, what kind of bread would you like with that?
What kind of bread?
Yep.
When I was a kid, I loved raisin toast. But these days, I would doesn't really matter. I'd bread. Uh, I don't know. Well, I'll just stick with raisin toast. How about that?
All
Yeah.
right, sounds good.
Uh,
This is a little bit of a insight into our rules when we're talking rules. We're all sort of you can talk a long time about rules with the group we have. Um,
yes, yes. We have a core group of players of six that have been tremendously helpful, and they've stuck with it for, you know, seems like a decade
Yep.
at least. And we've had other testers as well, both online and offline, but we have this core group of six, which have been fantastic in helping us develop the game. So shout out to
Well,
them.
yeah, we have a good time. It's Joe, Todd, Adam, Vince, me, and
Chris.
Chris.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun. A lot of laughing. We've had, excuse me, two playtests this year so far. I think
Yeah,
probably we squeezed in maybe 3 or 4 last year.
at least, yeah. And then we've had some uh a lot of virtual tests with other people all over the
Yeah,
world, so from
sure.
Norway and places.
Yeah,
So
yeah. How about your favorite vehicle? You gonna or dream vehicle?
I mean, that's not a spaceship.
That's not a spaceship.
I'm not too much of a car aficionado, so that's a tricky question. Um, yeah, it caught me off guard there. Favorite vehicle? Can I say tricycle?
Sure, sure.
Just
Tricycle.
to be
There it is.
silly.
All right, we're revealing all sorts of stuff about you right now. Historical era. If you had you want to pick up a book, you're Barnes and
I
Noble. Where are you going?
I would I grew up in the Latin club at school. And so what was great about that, we went to conventions and wore togas
Oh,
and
no kidding. Wow.
so I have a soft spot. I studied mythology, Greek mythology, and took tests to win competitions on that. I was on the quiz bowl for it was
No,
called Kurtamen,
no kidding.
and
I'm sniffing private school here.
definitely not. I went to the school
No,
in the ghetto,
no kidding.
in
Wow.
Baton Rouge. Yeah, we had barbed wire fence around our school. So yeah, it was
No
a
kidding.
desegregation thing where
Wow.
we were, shove a bunch of white kids in middle of inner city
Wow.
and see what happens. And
And you
it
had
it,
a
it,
Latin
it
club. That's amazing.
it worked out. I mean,
Yeah.
I am glad to have chosen the school that I did.
Yeah. How about sports? Any favorite sports?
Uh, yes, I used to. Well, now I'm an old man, and it's lucky if I get outside to walk my dog. Well, no, I walk Penny every day, but
He's
I
a good
feel
dog owner, people.
I feel like an old man still. Now I used to play ultimate frisbee in college, and I loved that. And I'm a whiz at ping pong. I challenge you. Um, I tried playing tennis, but I was never that good at it. I played, soccer and baseball in school,
Hmm,
so standard stuff. But ultimate frisbee, that's the sport that I love the most.
nice.
You
Well,
dive and you catch the frisbee.
oh, I love it. Love frisbee. Yep.
How about you? What's your favorite sport? I'll turn the tables, interview
Sure.
the
It's so I'm a bit of a Renaissance man. So if you're
Oh,
talking about I love airsoft. I haven't played in a while because my guns broke too, as well
did
as
they do that in the Renaissance? The
no. But if we're talking 2 players, I love to throw frisbee around. I love tennis. But my daughter's sort of got an interest in that right now. Love that. I had some good times in college with some buddies, roommates, and then I love uh, team sports like a soccer or a ultimate frisbee or I'd capture good old fashioned game of capture the flag. I've had great times in my life playing that stuff. Wiffle ball is awesome, and I still have some
have you tried
systems.
pickleball?
I have not tried pickleball yet. I played it
Pickleball is pretty
once.
good, but it's surprisingly you can hurt yourself doing the simplest things,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I got to be careful about that. And I like yard games, so
Oh
like
yeah,
boule and games like that, the one where you like toss the ball
Oh yeah,
at the Spanish people or the Portuguese, old Spanish Portuguese guys
yeah.
over throwing it into the
That
sand.
that's a great game. Yep,
Um, party style backyard games.
good times.
Those are pretty good. There's one where you got a string with two balls attached and you
Oh
throw it,
yeah,
wrap it
yep,
around
yep,
a
yep.
pole.
Cornhole. Yep, yep,
Cornhole,
yep. Love that.
horseshoes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good
So it's
stuff.
kind of like have a cookout and play some games in the backyard kind of thing. Those are great.
We have a wedding this year out near you guys. My wife's catering the wedding. I'm helping out, and she's going to be serving some good food, and it's on an old farm. Um, and I'll tell you where it is. You can crash the wedding.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for the time, and I was glad we got to some of the less businessy stuff because that's a lot for you as a owner of a
Yeah.
business. So yeah,
There
good
will
to
there
get
will
to know you a
be
little bit.
I'll give another plug for the Kickstarter. There will be for War Room we did a really significant discount, almost $100 in the last off the MSRP. So we'll be giving another really significant discount this time again as well. So we are banking a little bit on the FOMO, fear of missing out.
Sure.
And we are not going to have, the plan is currently not to have a late backer option.
Okay.
So that's even more of if you miss the Kickstarter, you'll have to wait for the final release and you won't get this great uh, discount.
Right.
So we feel that, a lot of people have been burned by Kickstarter with other projects where they never released. And that's why it's taken so long in development for this, is that we want it to be much closer to completion than a lot of other projects have been. And so we
Gotcha.
can just kind of hit the hit the print button as soon as we have the money, because I don't like holding on to huge amounts of money.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
so I would just be yeah, giving it to GPI and then they print the game almost immediately. That's the plan. There might be some approvals that we need to do back and forth with GPI in terms of, yes, this is the final box layout
Right.
that we
Right.
need. But as far as development goes, we are done. We'll have the rules available for you to read on our website as well for Imperial Borders. Um, and yeah, you can check it out, sign up, and let us know your feedback. Discord, Facebook, email, all that social media stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. And I will say, by the way, pay you a compliment that you know, Tom, when we were finishing up War Room, I did some play testing with War Room with you guys, and uh, got some immediate feedback from the 2,500, 3,000 players, and you adjusted the game a little bit in the second edition, according to some of the feedback. So these guys are very open to your feedback. So don't
Yes,
sit idly by and complain about the game.
I do try to be extremely responsive and fast in terms of not just customer support, but people email me with rules questions, and generally I would try to direct them to a forum, but I respond directly as well. A little me answering questions. It's good to keep my War Room game fresh. We're actually um, thinking about it, the tiniest tweak uh, right now on a particular rule that needs clarification. I don't want to talk about it, but
Sure.
um, yeah, even this many years after release, there's occasionally things that come up that need clarification. So
Yeah.
we do our best.
Excellent. And hey, you anybody watching this and you love War Room, if you would like to see a tournament happen, give us some encouragement, give us some motivation to do that, and we might be able to pull that off.
Yeah, as far as upcoming conventions, I've been looking at that. I saw Historicon in July. I would like to go to that. I don't think it's going to be possible this year, but in the future, I like going to the smaller cons like that. We've been to the World Board Gaming Championships in Western Pennsylvania. I think Historicon's in Pennsylvania as well this year. Um, we do have Greg Smory, who hosts a lot of Axis and Allies games. He's hosted War Room in the past, and he's going to be running some Imperial Borders games at Gen Con this
Oh,
year.
okay.
So you can probably, he might, I don't know when the signups for events start, but those will fill up quickly. And I'd like to get out to Origins at some point, but um,
Where's that one?
that's in Columbus, Ohio, I believe.
No
So
kidding. Midwest, killing it for board game conferences.
yeah, Gen Con's in Indianapolis.
Sure.
Um, there's other cons like Dragon Con in Atlanta. I think it's in Atlanta, but they're more not just board games, but sci-fi, fantasy,
Sure.
cosplay cons.
Yep.
I've been to Board Game Geek cons a long time ago. I haven't in Texas. I haven't been on any of the West Coast cons. Um, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I like going to the small local cons. Um, been to Total Con in Massachusetts, and I've been up to a con up in Vermont, New Hampshire. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you, Tom, for the time, and I hope everyone can go and visit some of those sites and get excited about the release of Imperial Borders in the next coming years.
Yes, it's a long time coming, and it's good to see it finally see the light of day.
Right, right. All right. Well, thank you for watching, guys. I'm going to sign off now and talk with Tom, and that's great. Thank you so much again.
Yeah,
Good night.
thank you.
Okay, sure you want to? Yes, I